This diary shows you the wildlife to be found throughout the seasons in the Peak District National Park. Winter is the quietest season, when the ground is hard and covered with snow. But scenery can be magnificent in the colder months, where the local wildlife struggles to make a living, like this carrion crow. Winter visitors like fieldfare and redwing feed on discarded fruit in orchards, whilst flocks of bramblings enjoy the beech mast on woodland floors. Rarities such as two-barred crossbills have been found, and this dusky thrush stayed in Beeley village for several weeks one winter. Walking along Cromford Canal in February, you may be lucky enough to see a rare water vole feeding on the bank. Spring begins in the dales, where high river waters rush past the first flowers to appear. Local birds like this bluetit take advantage of the warmer weather. Grey wagtails return to their summer territories to preen and feed along the rivers. Singing dippers can be heard in April in the early mornings as the mist clears along the dales. Spring riverside blooms include butterbur and marsh marigold. And on the woodland floor, wood anemone and greater celandine are in bloom. Coots are gathering material to build their nests, and the dippers are starting to display and pair bond. In April, early migrant male wheatears arrive first on territory, and on the moors adders are basking in any available sunshine. Common lizards can also be found warming themselves, and common toads are out searching for a mate. Later in the month, the female wheatears are back, being serenaded by the males. Spring in the leafless ancient oak woodland is the time to listen for pied flycatchers claiming their territories. In the dales, the newly arrived male redstarts are also advertising themselves to any potential mates. Stonechat's alarm calls can be heard along the gritstone edges at the beginning of May. On the high moors, red grouse and golden plover are displaying and calling. The mountain hares have now lost their white winter coats. Ground nesting willow warblers line their nests, and female redstarts now show themselves in the dales. Young coots can be seen in May, and butterflies like this female orange tip are now flying. Fledgling dippers are feeding themselves in the fast-flowing water, and young mammals like this wood mouse are out and about. On the moorland, ring ouzels can be heard, and seen collecting food for their first brood hiding amongst last year's bracken stems. Along the rivers in the dales at the end of May, grey wagtails are now feeding youngsters. Young wheatears are also fledging at the end of May. Young pied flycatchers are still in the nest at the beginning of June, as this great spotted woodpecker eyes them up for dinner. The dales are a picture now, with flowering early purple orchids and singing redstarts. Young peregrines are testing their wings after leaving the nest. Moorland birds such as calling young red grouse and singing snipe can be heard on a quiet day. During midsummer on the limestone, the meadows are full of flowers, like melancholy thistle, bloody cranesbill, and Jacob's ladder. You may find pyramidal orchids, bee orchids, and if you're really lucky, a dark red helleborine. Flowering plants attract butterflies in July, such as the beautiful common blue, the secretive small heath, the territorial brown argus, and the very attractive dark green fritillary. The moorland has its own insects that include the hoverfly, Sericomia silentis, and some very hungry emperor moth caterpillars. The dales at the end of July are now coloured by scabious and knapweed flowers, attracting insects such as this hoverfly, Ringia campestris. Young green woodpeckers can be seen feasting on this abundance of insects amongst the flowers. At the edge of the moors, harebells and grasses are flowering, and young willow warblers have fledged their nests. Around small ponds, gatekeeper butterflies sit on bracken fronds, and large red damselflies are found on sedges. Common hawker dragonflies are now in flight, and females are egg-laying in the small acidic pools on the moorland. In the dales, goldfinches feed on thistles that have gone to seed, whilst on the moors the first berries are ripening. Young whinchats are calling for food to their parents. Feeding stations are now visited by yellowhammers, nuthatches, speckled young robins, and the occasional greedy grey squirrels. The purple heather colours the moorland at the beginning of August. Around the small ponds many dragonflies are now starting to pair up. The wings of this female black darter reflect the sunlight before she couples with a male. Common darters are also coupling beside the pools, where this male linnet preens in the bracken. Into mid-August, families of water voles are feeding in the rivers along the dales. Meadows full of devil's bit scabious attract insects, as do the grass of Parnassus flowers. As we head into autumn, fungi begin to appear on damper areas of ground. Heading through September into October, aphids fill the air, and along the rivers plants go to seed and produce brightly coloured berries. Along the river boulders, grey wagtails tiptoe through the water, whilst dippers sit watching the light reflecting on its surface. Leaves turn red and begin to drop at the end of October, and spiders sit in webs bejewelled with dew. Up on Bigmoor at the very end of October, red deer stags strut around their harems of hinds. Morning mists appear over Derwent Reservoir in November, and a red grouse sits beside the road on an ancient dry stone wall. Now at the end of autumn, beautiful colours adorn the landscape, and murmurations of starlings head to roost as the sun dips down below the horizon, to end my story through the seasons in the wonderful Peak District.